everybody. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Welcome everyone to our February 21st, 2023 hybrid council meeting. We do have Councillor Doherty online and everybody else is here. So I'm going to start off with a land acknowledgement. And we respectfully acknowledge that the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen is located on the Treaty 20 Mississauga territory of the Mississauga and Chippewa Nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations, which include Curve Lake, Hiawatha, Alderville, Scugog Island, Rama, Beausoleil, and Georgina Island First Nations. The Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen respectfully acknowledges that the Williams Treaties First Nations are the stewards and caretakers of the lands and waters in perpetuity, and that they continue to maintain this responsibility to ensure their health and integrity for generations to come. I'm going to ask everybody to make sure your cell phones are off or on vibrate so it doesn't disturb the meeting. And I'll remind council of the declaration of pecuniary interest. If it arises, you can declare it now or declare it when something popped up later. But minutes here from the special council meeting of February 6th. And a regular council meeting February 7th. I'll look for a motion to receive those minutes. Moved by Councillor Webb, seconded by Councillor Doherty. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, so I need a motion to go into a public meeting for zoning bylaw amendment. I'll look for a mover for that. Moved by Councillor Clement. Seconder? Councillor Doherty. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, our first zoning bylaw amendment here today is for Dean and Vanessa Bennett. Sorry. This is a statutory public meeting held under Section 34 of the Planning Act. The owners applicants are Dean and Vanessa Bennett. Property is described as part of Lot 9, Concession 8, known municipally as 14 Fire Road 93C. Having a property roll number of 153101000912700. Any person may attend this public meeting and or make verbal or written representation either in support or in opposition of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment. Please keep your video off and the microphone muted during the meeting until you're invited to comment regarding a planning matter. If a person or public body does not make oral submission at the public meeting or make written submission to the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen before the proposed zoning bylaw is passed, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen to the Ontario Land Tribunal. If a person or public body does make an oral submission at the public meeting or make written submissions to the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen before the proposed zoning bylaw amendment is passed, the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the Ontario Land Tribunal unless, in the opinion of the tribunal, there are reasonable grounds to add the person or public body as a party. If you wish to be notified of the passing of the zoning bylaw amendment, you must make a written request to the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen. With that, I'll turn it over to Arya.
Through you, Mayor. Good afternoon, Council. Forgive me. I'm just going to try to see whether or not this works. Okay. There we go. Okay, excellent. So the purpose and effect of this report to Council is to present for consideration and requisite approval of Council to amend the Township's comprehensive zoning bylaw 1995-42 as amended in order to amend the existing seasonal residential and open space zones to change the categories to special district 260 or 260 in order to permit the development of an accessory detached garage while also introducing some or certain site-specific regulations. The recommendation of my report is that subject to any new information or public comments received prior to or at the statutory public meeting, the draft bylaw be passed as presented and that the balance of this report be received. So just a little bit of background information pertaining to this property. The owners are Dean and forgive me, I wrote in my report Ann Bennett. I'm just going to refer to them as Mr. and Mrs. Bennett. Property description, part lot 9, plan 37 lot 1 and registered plan 45R 14127 part 6 to 8 and 10 concession 8. The address of the property, or the municipal address of the property, I should say, is 14 Fire Route 93C. And the type of planning approval in front of us today, or in front of council's consideration today, is the zone amendment in accordance with section 34 of the Planning Act. The property is currently developed with a seasonal cottage alongside an on-land boathouse. So the proposed development, would be for a new accessory detached garage, which will be situated beyond the 30-meter high watermark setback, and is being proposed in a location of the property that is clear of any natural vegetation, and buffered along a lining of trees, further reducing its exposure to the shoreline. However, the location of the new structure is being proposed in the open space zone, which does not permit any accessory uses. Therefore, the applicants were required to apply for a zone amendment to permit the development of the accessory detached garage. The application presently before council must conform to the provincial policy statement, the growth plan, the township and county's official plans, as well as the zoning bylaw. So just a little bit of a discussion of the PPS, which is the provincial policy statement, and the growth plan. Both are land use planning documents issued under, the PPS is issued under section 3 of the Planning Act. Under the PPS, resource-based, as well as the growth plan, resource-based recreational development within rural areas are permitted, and as well as any accessory uses. They must also ensure that the protection of significant natural heritage features are also maintained as well. Same thing with the growth plan. Under section 4, pretty much outlines the same sort of policies in place. Both documents all permit the accessory uses alongside primary existing uses, provided the development is not within any key natural heritage or hydrologic features, that being like lakes and significant woodlands and whatnot. As previously mentioned, the development of the garage is well beyond the high watermark setback. It does not pose any, or is not anticipated to pose any negative impacts to the shoreline health. Therefore, this application maintains conformity with both the PPS as well as the growth plan. Just a little bit about the county's official plan, the current official plan. The county's OP states that the built form along shorelines should not dominate the natural form. And the document also encourages the provision of access to waterfront for public and private users. The proposed accessory detached garage is to be situated in a location of the property that is free of any natural vegetation, while also adequately buffered by a lining of trees that reduces the structure's exposure to the shoreline. Furthermore, the development of the accessory structure poses no interference with public and private access to waterfront or lakes. So therefore, it is the township planning opinion that the application conforms to the spirit and intent of the county's official plan. So a little discussion about the township's current official plan, the local OP. The designation of the property is notified as shoreline, which allows recreational cottage development inclusive of accessory structures. Furthermore, all development in the shoreline designation are required to incorporate a minimum 30-meter setback from the high water mark. The OP also acknowledges that in cases where the applicant cannot meet the 30-meter buffer, development may take place within the high watermark setback, provided that a natural heritage evaluation is required. The township felt that the proposed development would not pose any detrimental effects to the health of the natural heritage features or the environment. Furthermore, it won't be posing any further interference with public and private access to the waterfront. And again, stated the entire structure is to be outside the 30-meter high watermark setback. So no natural heritage evaluation was asked. Therefore, the development maintains conformity with the township's official plan. And finally, the zoning bylaw. Under Schedule A1 of the township's comprehensive zoning bylaw, the subject property is currently zoned seasonal residential, with the balance of it being in the open space zone. The garage is to be located in the OS zone or the OS portion of the property. Therefore, a zone amendment is required as the OS or the open space zone does not permit accessory uses. Furthermore, the current seasonal residential zone portion of the property is very much deficient in terms of acreage. So the portion that we're adding to the property, or sorry, the portion of the open space being added to the seasonal residential zone is going to actually bring the property into further conformity with the zoning bylaw, allowing a larger increase in the acreage. Therefore, this application maintains a spirit and intent of the zoning bylaw or the township zoning bylaw. And in conclusion, based off of our analysis and assessment of the application within the context of relevant land use planning policies, it is the township's planning opinion that the subject application conforms to all the policy documents. as well as the zoning bylaw. Therefore, it is appropriate for council to consider the approving this application as is. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Artie. Okay, I'm gonna ask for the first time of three. Is there anybody wishing to speak in opposition of this application? Second time, anybody wishing to speak in opposition? Third time, anybody wishing to speak in opposition? Does anybody wish to speak in favor of this application? Second time, anybody wishing to speak in favor? Is the applicant on here?
Through to you, Mayor. I do believe that they had a scheduling conflict
Okay.
with work, but I did send them the Zoom link.
Sure, okay, so,
Oh, yeah, actually might be.
okay, third time, anybody wishing to speak in favor? Hearing none, I'll open it up to council here. Is there any questions?
Oh, one question. So the open zoning space or the open space, so how much of the new building is gonna be on it?
Through to you, Mayor. That's a great question. I would say that not a whole lot. I wouldn't even say about half of the open space portion would be or the structure would be in the open space zone, provided obviously the seasonal residential zone portion and the OS portion are going to be amalgamated. So it's well within the lot coverage percentage, whatever that was required.
So this whole property is theirs. The open space is, can you just give me a little brief? Why do we have open space designations?
Through to you, Mayor. Yes, absolutely. So open space, it isn't necessarily a land use designation under the official plan, but it is a zone. I do believe actually it is talked about in the official plan as well. But in terms of this, it's just the zone of the property, the zone open space. It's needed across all of the counties or the townships across the county. We have open space zones. Let's just say, for example, you have an aggregate industrial zone. You need to have open space around it to be adequately buffered from other land uses, if that's the case. This is just a remnant of one of those open space zones.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? So we have a recommendation here that the draft bylaw be passed as presented and that the balance of the report received for a motion. Oops. Okay, moved by Deputy Mayor Webb and seconded by Councillor Clement. All in favor? And that's carried. Our second zoning bylaw amendment is it's the same rules go for this one as the last, and this one is for Susan and David McIntyre. And their property is described as part of Lot 10, Concession 9, known as municipal address 205 Fire Route 91, having a property roll number of 1531 010 009 15000. So I'll turn it over to Arya.
Through to you, Mayor. Good morning, Council. The purpose and effect of this report is to present for consideration and requisite approval of Council to amend the Township's comprehensive zoning bylaw, much like the last one that we did, in order to amend the existing seasonal residential zone to change the zone category to special district. Forgive me, Bianca, I forgot to do that. Special District 261 with a holding provision attached, as well as environmental protection to permit the redevelopment of the property in the form of one permanent dwelling unit alongside one seasonal vacation dwelling, as well as some assortment of accessory structures. The zone amendment will be subject to site-specific provisions as well. So the recommendation, much like the last one that we did, that subject to any new information or public comments received prior to or at the statutory public meeting, the draft bylaw be passed as presented and that the balance of this report be received. So just a little bit about background of this property. Forgive me if I butcher your names. The owners, Susan and Dave McIntyre. They are the owners of the property. The applicant retained the services of an agent. His name is Riley Martins. I do believe I did send him a Zoom invite, so he might be on the call with us this afternoon. The property description: part lot 10, plan 30, part lot 7, and part of block B within the concession 9 of the Methuen ward. The type of planning approval in front of Council's consideration today is for a zone amendment in accordance with section 34 of the Planning Act. The property is currently developed with 3 seasonal cottages and an assortment of existing accessory uses that are not subject to any alteration as a result of the approval of this application. The current dwelling unit is serviced by an individual septic system as well as a private well. I do believe that the applicants proposed to be using the existing septic system. And so we've included provisions in the bylaw that no further reduction in setbacks towards the water yard are to be proposed if a new septic system is to be required. The reason there are 3 recreational dwelling units on this lot is that the entire peninsula, and this is kind of going to the history of the property, was part of an old summer resort. Which was evident on some past assessment and survey information that we had in the property file. Therefore, these structures are all considered legal non-conforming, with one being located actually directly on the eastern property line. So just a bit of discussion about the proposed development. The applicants are seeking permission to redevelop the existing main cottage to a larger footprint, with no further reduction being proposed to the existing high watermark setback. As part of the approval process, the applicants are willing to make some site improvements. So they're essentially willing to remove one of the non-conforming structures, the one that's in the high watermark setback and on the eastern property line, as well as a new dwelling unit is to be. So the new dwelling unit that is being redeveloped is to be a permanent dwelling unit. And so the township has expressed the need for a road agreement, which the applicants were more than willing to actually engage in. So those will be 2 provisions or conditions, I should say, that we're going to be talking about a little bit further down in my report. The application presently before council must maintain conformity with the provincial policy statement, the growth plan, as well as the townships and counties official plans, as well as the township zoning bylaw. Again, just a little bit about the PPS. I don't want to kind of reiterate exactly what I said in the previous one, but the PPS and the growth plan both recognize resource-based recreational development as well as any accessory structures. Similarly, the growth plan as well permits resource-based recreational uses all within section 4 of the plan. Section 4 actually elaborates that development within 120 meters of key hydrologic features such as lakes, would require natural heritage evaluation, which requires a further 30-meter buffer of vegetation protection zone. So the applicants did engage in the services of Cambium, who were their retained professional ecological agents. They drafted the attached environmental impact statement. And report stipulating that the development, despite being in the 30-meter high watermark setback, poses no damaging effects on any natural heritage features. So provided the recommendations of the report are met, I would say that, or the township's planning opinion would be that the application maintains conformity with both the PPS and the growth plan. So just a little bit about the county's official plan. According to the county's official plan, the site is designated shoreline areas in the waterfront. Policies of the county's official plan permit residential land uses within the shoreline areas, while also encouraging the protection and restoration of natural heritage features. The redevelopment of the property in the form of a recreational cottage is permitted under the county's official plan, and the EIS, which was accompanied, also ensured that the new development would not impinge the integrity of the adjacent natural heritage features. Therefore, the development does maintain conformity with the county's official plan. Similarly, with the township's official plan, the designation is shoreline, which allows recreational cottage development. Furthermore, all development in the shoreline designation are required to incorporate a minimum of 30-meter buffer from the shoreline. However, the OP also acknowledges that in some cases, because of maybe topographic restraints and whatnot, in those cases where the applicant cannot meet that 30-meter buffer, development may take place within the 30-meter buffer, provided that a natural heritage evaluation is maybe required. The township felt as if the redevelopment to a larger footprint inside the high watermark setback would trigger the necessity of a scoped environmental study, which was what the applicants have provided through Cambium. The applicants were more than willing to provide this analysis and provide a justification for why they could not meet the 30-meter buffer. I do believe that when I did the site visit on the site, the site was heavily sloped. So the area where the existing cottage essentially is probably the best location. And then the EIS actually spoke to that as well. So therefore, the new development will largely take place on the existing footprint and come no closer to the water than the existing standards, or the high watermark standards of the park. Therefore, the development maintains conformity with the township's official plan. Under Schedule A1 of the Township's Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw, the subject property is currently zoned as seasonal residential, which permits seasonal or recreational cottage development. However, since the development is taking place within the high watermark setback, it cannot be considered minor in nature. Therefore, a zone amendment was required. As we needed to tailor the development to the site, a new special district would be created in this case to give the property a site-specific rezoning. The EIS that was submitted did identify wetlands towards the northerly portion of the property, and forgive me, it is cut off here because I tried to fit it all in one. But if you see past lot 7, with the wording of lot 7 up north, there's a little bit of a wetland property over there, or a wetland feature. Yeah, so essentially what we're going to be doing is providing some environmental protection zones on the wetlands so that we can protect it from development. Furthermore, also the township will attach a holding provision to the new special district being created, and the conditions for lifting the hold would be essentially twofold. One being that they remove the existing structure which is situated on the eastern property line and on the road allowance, as well as a road agreement that would be registered on title, essentially acknowledging the fact that this is a private road. There are no municipal services here. It's not the responsibility of the municipality to provide services on private roads. And just that acknowledgement, because that's going to be a permanent property for the applicants. That essentially concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to ask for the first time, is there anybody wishing to speak in opposition to this application? Second time, anybody wishing to speak in opposition? Third time, anybody wishing to speak in opposition? Okay, is there anybody wishing to speak in favor of this application? Not sure if the applicant's here. Anybody wishing to speak in favor? Third time, anybody wishing to speak in favor? Okay, I'll open it up to council. Is there any questions, comments here? Okay, then. All right then, so we have a recommendation here that subject to any information, new information or public comments prior to the statutory meeting, a draft bylaw be passed as presented, and the recommendation of a scoped environmental impact statement be implemented at the development stage and monitored through the process, and the balance of the report be received. So mover. Okay, moved by Councillor Clement. Seconder. Seconded by Deputy Mayor Webb. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, so the motion to go to the public meeting, back into our regular meeting. If somebody wants to make that. Deputy Mayor Webb and seconder.
Yep.
Yeah, Councillor Flagler. All in favor? That's carried. Okay, we're back in the public meeting and we do have 2 bylaws here. If you want to deal with them now, we can get them out of the way right now. So first bylaw is bylaw 2023-007 for Bennett. Somebody want to move that we okay, moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, seconded by Councillor Clements. All in favor? And that's carried. And the second bylaw is for McIntyre and it's 2023-008. Motion to move that one. Councillor Clement and Councillor Flagler. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, so we are in the public meeting and I'm going to get a motion to go into Committee of Adjustment with Deputy Mayor Webb in the chair. Somebody want to move that? Councillor Clement and Councillor Flagler. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of Committee of Adjustment. I call this public meeting to order and remind the members of the committee of the requirement to disclose any pecuniary interest and general nature thereof if the occasion arises. Public meeting is held under Section 45 of the Planning Act and its regulations. Now, our planning consultant, Aria, present the minor variance reports.
Through the chair, application A523 for property owners Mike Sene and Alexander Bull with municipal address 143 Fire Route 25 in the Belmont Ward. The legal description of the property, part lot 15, concession 6, currently zoned as seasonal residential zone in the township's comprehensive zoning bylaw, and the land use designation of shoreline in the township's official plan. The property owners retain the services of an agent. It would be Trevor Day, whose agent is Mallory, I forgot her last name. Who I did provide the yeah, that's the site plan, who I did provide the Zoom link to. So she should be, she would probably be on the call this afternoon. The purpose of this minor variance application in front of the Committee of Adjustment is to seek relief from section 4.37, 4.10 BA and 11.21 D of the Township's Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw to permit the redevelopment of an existing seasonal recreational dwelling unit and lakeside uncovered deck to its existing foundation, alongside a rear-facing enlargement as well as a new covered deck. This application will have the following effects. One, permit the redevelopment of an existing seasonal recreational dwelling unit and lakeside uncovered deck to its existing foundation. Number two, permit the increase of a deficiency as it relates to the height of the existing recreational dwelling unit within the high watermark setback. Three, reducing the minimum high watermark setback from 30 meters to 22.25 meters. As well as number four, reducing the minimum required side yard setback from 6 meters to 5.2 meters. It is important to note that the high watermark reductions being sought here are a reflection of the current standards on the property. And there is no form of a reduction in any form of high watermark setback beyond what is existing on the property. I would say, in fact, the applicants were willing to move the current septic system as the site plan that Bianca provided for us is actually literally on the shoreline. So they are proposing to essentially bump that all the way toward the rear portion of the property, way outside the high watermark setback. That's a significant improvement to the site. As well as they are actually, if we analyze the site plan in front of us, they are actually proposing a further setback from the high watermark setback for the existing structure. So in all, this is all great stuff. It's all net improvements. And I just wanted to point out the fact that any reductions that I'm stating here are reflective of the current non-complying deficiencies present on the property, and there's no reduction in any standards. The recommendation of my report is that minor variance application A523 be approved with the following conditions. That the development meet all, that the development be completed in accordance with the site plan submitted. That the development meet all setback requirements pertaining to hydro easements, if there are any. That the development, that a 20-day appeal period lapse prior to the issuance of a building permit, and that the balance of this report be received. As my report stipulates, the township has determined that the application meets all four tests of a minor variance. It is also consistent with the provincial policy statement, as well as the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe. The application was further circulated to all applicable agencies under the regulations under the Planning Act, as well as all, local conservation authority and health units. So far, no comments have been received in opposition to the minor variance application. And that concludes my report to council.
Or the committee, I should thank you for that report, Arya, very well done. Is the applicant or agent present today?
Hello, I'm Mallory. I'm the agent.
Hi, Mallory. Do you have any comments? Anything you'd like to add?
No, Arya's got it. I am here if you have any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone present here today wishing to speak in opposition to this application? Second time, is there anyone present today wishing to speak in opposition? Third and final time, is there anyone present wishing to speak in opposition of this application? Hearing none, is there anyone present today wishing to speak in favor of this application? Mallory, you didn't want to add anything, no? Guess not. So second time, is there anyone present here today wishing to speak in favor of this application? Third time, anyone wishing to speak in favor? Hearing none, no comments from the public. I'll open up the floor for any questions from the members of the committee. Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, so this application all sounds good with it, so I'll make a motion that we approve application A0523 with all the conditions.
So I've got a motion from the mayor. I've got a seconder. Seconded by Councillor Flagler. Any other comments? No, all in favor?
Through the chair, yes, slight revision required for this next application. I believe the name of the applicants in my report were incorrect as well as my notice. Their names are reflected as Bill and Ann Cowan, I believe. Application A623 or A0623 for property owners Bill and Ann Cowan with municipal address 271 Fire Route 84 in the Methuen Ward. Legal description being part lot 25 and 26, plan 35 lot 5, concession 3. And the property is also currently zoned a seasonal residential zone in the township's comprehensive zoning bylaw. The property does also have a land use designation under the township's current official plan, which is shoreline. The applicants retain the services of an agent who are currently on the call with us, I do believe. The purpose of this minor variance application in front of the Committee of Adjustment is to seek relief from sections 4.37 and 11.21C of the Township's Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw to permit the reconstruction of an existing deck to its current foundation or its existing foundation. This application will have the following effects. Number one, reducing the minimum high watermark setback from 30 meters to 8.6 meters. Number two, reducing the minimum required front yard setback from 21.3 meters to 8.6 meters. And number three and final, permit the increase of a deficiency with respect to the requirements under section 4.10B2. These reductions, again, it's important to note that these reductions are reflective of the current non-complying standards or deficiencies present on the property. There is no reduction in any high watermark standard being proposed as a result of the approval of this application. The recommendation of my report is that minor variance application A623 be approved with the following conditions: that the development be completed in accordance with the site plan submitted, that the development meet all setback requirements pertaining to hydro easements, that a 20-day appeal period lapse prior to the issuance of a building permit, that the balance and the information of this report be received. As my report stipulates, the township has determined that the application meets all 4 tests of a minor variance. It is also consistent with the provincial policy statement as well as the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe. The application was circulated to all applicable agencies, inclusive of the local conservation authority as well as the health unit. So far, no comments have been received in opposition to the minor variance application. And that being said, the application is appropriate for council's or the committee's approval. This concludes my report.
Thank you for that, Arya. Is the applicant or agent present with us today?
Yes, hi, I'm Amanda Smith with DNA Smith Carpentry.
Hi, Amanda.
I am the agent. Thank you. I am the agent, Mr. Mayor, for Bill and Ann Cowan, located at 271 Fire Route 84. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, yes, I appreciate Arya going over everything and just correcting the name again to Bill, B-I-L-L, and Ann, A-N-N-E, Cowan, as the correct name on the notice of public hearing.
Thank you for that. Is there anyone present here today wishing to speak in opposition of this application? Second time, anyone wishing to speak in opposition of this application? Third and final time, is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Hearing none, is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of this application? Second time, anyone wishing to speak in favor? Third and final time, anyone wishing to speak in favor of the application? Hearing no comments from the public, I'll open up the floor for questions from the members of the committee. Somebody want to make a motion?
I'll take a motion to.
Motion to approve?
Yes.
Motion to approve from Councillor Clement. We have a seconder. Seconded by Mayor Martin. All in favor? And passed. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for your reports here today, Arya. It's lost where I was. I'll now take a motion to adjourn the public meeting and return to the regular council meeting. Anyone want to get there? Do you want to move it, Arya? Moved by Councillor Clement, seconded by Mayor, by Councillor Doherty. All in favor? Back to you, Mr. Mayor.
All right then, thank you. Okay, so we're gonna move into planning reports here, and Ari, you're still in the chair there with regards to some housekeeping amendments.
Through to you, Mayor. Good afternoon, Council. Yes, the subject of my report to Council is proposed zoning bylaw housekeeping amendments, essentially. The purpose and effect of this report is to inform Council of certain zoning bylaw issues encountered by staff and to seek approval for proceeding with some housekeeping amendments. This is pretty straightforward. It happens every couple of years or so, 3-4 years. The recommendation in my report is that Council directs staff to proceed with the preparation of a draft housekeeping amendment to the Township's comprehensive zoning bylaw 1995-42 as amended for discussion with Council at a future Council meeting, and that the balance of this report be received. So a little bit of background information on all this. We've been doing the Building and Planning Department has been doing some work on this for about a year now. Ongoing administration of the Township's comprehensive zoning bylaw from time to time has kind of revealed certain provisions, or lack thereof, I should say, which have posed some difficulties for Township staff as well as its planning consultants and residents, I would say. So in past instances where this has happened, the Township has proceeded with some housekeeping amendments intended to alleviate the issues encountered. Most recently, staff have identified the following, which are being brought to Council's immediate attention. One of them being the swimming pool bylaw. There's this definitely needs a little bit of work. I do believe it's a little outdated. Section 2, the open space. I mean, we don't necessarily need to go into the fine gritty details of it, but these are just some stuff that would be required to kind of be amended forward with a housekeeping amendment. The open space zone, legal non-complying structures under section 4.10. The rural zone special provisions needs a little bit of revamping. Accessory uses, yards and setback encroachment provisions, as well as the definition of story under the zoning bylaw, as well as the definition of sleeping cabin. There is consideration here for also shipping containers, and also special provisions under the seasonal residential zone. And all of these are kind of brought to light in more further detail in my report. So yeah, all of which is respectfully submitted for Council's consideration and hopeful direction.
Okay, so thank you, Ari, and I'm just trying to catch up here, but we do have a recommendation here. So, and the recommendation is that Council direct staff to proceed with the preparation of this housekeeping amendment and for discussion with Council at a future meeting. So I'll look for somebody to move that. Moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, seconded by Councillor Doherty. You have a question? No? Okay. All right then. So all in favor? That's carried. Okay, our next planning report is with regards to severance. Yeah,
Through to you, Mayor, and good afternoon, Council. And the severance consent applications before Council are for the creation of 3 new lots. Applications B19322, B14022, and B14122. The background of these applications is that the property in question comprises approximately 29 acres, together with approximately 316 meters of frontage along Shady Lane, which is also, it should be noted that it's a municipally maintained road year round. It's located, the property is located in part lot 31 in concession 10 of the Methuen ward. The application is now before Council was filed with Peterborough County Land Division in October of 2022. Submission for the consent proposal was the subject of a preliminary severance review. It did come after the formal application, and that was completed in January of 2023. If approved, lot number 1 will comprise approximately 1.2 acres in area. Lot number 2 will comprise approximately 0.78 acres in area, and lot number 3 will comprise approximately 0.8 acres in area. All new lots being created will be afforded 46 meters of frontage along Shady Lane. The parcel to be retained will comprise an area of approximately 26 acres and supposedly has frontage along Shady Lane. The recommendation of my report is that Council advised Peterborough County Land Division that the Township endorses applications for the creation of 3 new lots being referenced as the above application numbers, as was submitted by the property owner's agent, Laura Stone, who represents KMD Planning or One Community Planning. The second recommendation is that $1,000 cash in lieu of parkland be paid to the municipality for each of the new lots being created. The third condition is that the confirmation of adequate lot frontage as it relates to the applicable zone of the retained parcel on a municipally maintained road be provided by an Ontario land surveyor and on a draft plan. So they have to essentially just make sure that they prove that there is frontage on Shady Lane as a result of the severance application for the retained lot. The fourth condition is that the entrance permit be successfully obtained by the Township's Public Works Department for both the severed and retained lots. The fifth condition is that the applicants obtain an aggregate resource study to assess the required criteria as prescribed in section 3.5.37 of the Township's official plan, and demonstrate conformity with section 2.5.2.5 of the provincial policy statement. And finally, number 6 condition that the confirmation be required to assess whether the new lots fall within 120 meters of a provincially significant wetland and any key natural or key hydrologic features under the growth plan. If so, an environmental study will be required by a qualified ecologist. Generally speaking, and in relation to the information provided in my report, based on the review of the subject application with all the supporting material, it is the Township's planning opinion that the proposed consent applications conform to the policies of the Township's official plan, as well as the zoning bylaw. I did want to draw council's attention to one outstanding matter that should be addressed, and I'm not sure if the applicant's agents are on the call today. The Township has included, as stated before, a condition that an aggregate study be required to assess the matters in both the Township's official plan as well as the provincial policy statement. A memorandum was further provided by the agents of the applicants to have this specific condition removed. I have the following comments to add in relation to this matter. First and foremost, we are essentially a commenting agency. We, much like if we were like Pro Valley or the health unit, we just provide commentary on applications. We are not the actual approval authority under the regulations of the Planning Act to accept or approve of applications for consents. So that is kind of the jurisdiction of the County of Peterborough. Secondly, the condition that I included on my report speaks in relation to both the Township's official plan and PPS. And while I do agree that the memorandum and the justification report that was provided does speak in relation to the Township's official plan regarding aggregates, I didn't see any discussion in relation to the PPS. I would also add that we are simply following the guidance of the preliminary severance review that was done back in January, I think 11th, 2023. And I'm literally quoting out of the preliminary severance review. An aggregate resource study appears to be required to evaluate the above noted criteria in section 2.5.2.5 of the PPS, which is a provincial policy statement. Until the above issues have been addressed, the severance proposal does not appear to conform with the provincial policy statement. Therefore, conformity with the local OP and the PPS would be required. So finally, I was just going to say that I would think it would be fair to not include a very onerous or comprehensive aggregate study, more or less a scoped review, which is a smaller review. So having said that, moving forward, we can amend that condition. And we can essentially say that the applicants obtain confirmation from Peterborough County Land Division whether they will be requiring an aggregate resource study. Essentially, we let the county decide. And it was their analysis that ultimately led to the aggregate study being required and to maintain conformity with the PPS. So we should, I don't know, I think we should probably let them decide on the matter. And so that concludes my report to council. Okay.
So for today, the recommendation is that we endorse this, but ultimately it'll come down to the land division. I'll just highlight all of these things that we want them to look at or consider when it gets to there. So anyways, I'll look for a motion that with recommendation, unless there's any questions for Arya.
That's good. On the current land right now, are there any buildings? Anyone residing there now?
Through you, Mayor, I don't believe there is. If there are, there are existing structures on the larger parcel. However, for the new lots being created, no, there are no structures. There's vacant lots.
Right, but they're planning on building, I would think, relatively soon. Yeah, okay, all right, that's fine.
Councillor Doherty, you had a question?
Yeah, why does the Public Works have to look after the permit for entranceway?
That's
isn't
for
that-
any lots that are developed to make sure that there is a place to put a driveway. Some places don't even have an opportunity to get into the property, so that's just and if it needs culverts or whatever, that'll come from Public Works.
Thanks.
Okay. All right then, any other questions? All right then, I'll look for a motion that we go with the recommendation here, that we endorse this and highlight our recommendations for land division.
With the amendments.
Okay, so that's moved by Councilor Clement. Seconded by Councilor Flagler. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, and our next report area is bylaws.
Mayor. Yes, so the subject of this final application, and Bianca graciously has it up for us. Yeah, so the subject of this is a deeming bylaw. For lots 16 through to 24 on registered plan 20, concession 3. I'm not sure if the applicant's agent, Jim Baird, is on the call. If not, that's fine. The recommendation is that council hereby grant the passing of the draft bylaw under section 50, subsection 4 of the Planning Act as amended to deem lots 16 through to 24 on registered plan number 20, concession 3 in the Belmont Ward, not to be lots on a registered plan of subdivision for the purposes of section 50, subsection 3 of the Act. Further recommendation is that subject to any new information or public comments received prior to at the statutory public meeting, the draft bylaw be passed and presented, passed as presented. Just a little bit of background on this property. It's been about a, I don't know, Sonia, you would say 10, 15-year process. The township, we received this draft bylaw to allow the subject landowners to reconfigure the lot boundaries. So essentially, if we look at the site map, we have 10 lots here, or maybe 10 lots I see. And they're essentially being amalgamated and reconfigured into this kind of configuration. And I have to give a shout out to Mr. Mayor here, who identified that lot number, I think it's lot number 18. It is backlotted. I would agree that this deeming bylaw would actually, it's improving the site. So as attached, the appendices indicate the subject lands comprise a total of 9 existing lots of record with within registered plan 20, concession 3 Belmont Ward. Currently, the lots within plan 20 are registered in different ownership. However, regardless of the ownership structure, these lots are independent conveyable parcels of land pursuant to section 53 or 50 subsection 3 of the Planning Act as being whole lots within the registered plan of subdivision. As a result, subdivision control provisions apply to these lots. This essentially just means that these lots were created through a plan of subdivision, and you can't really amalgamate them through the consent process without first deeming them not to be on a plan of subdivision, because these are controlled under strict subdivision control provisions under the Planning Act. As part of the overall redevelopment scheme of the lots, which is this right here, it is necessary to incorporate the lands within Plan 20 into the larger proposed lot structure identified under the final lot configuration, which is this. To accomplish this, the final lot configuration, ownership of the lots within Plan 20 will need to be transferred into common ownership. After the ownership structure is finalized, and I do believe the ownership structure is, it has been finalized for some time, an application needs to be filed with the township to for the passing of a bylaw under section 50, subsection 4, which is referred to as a deeming bylaw. A deeming bylaw is essentially a tool available to municipalities in order to prohibit future conveyance of lots within a registered plan of subdivision. In essence, the bylaw deems, quote unquote, the plan or part thereof not to be a plan for the purposes of subdivision control. It is imperative to note that the passing of the bylaw only applies to lots 16 through to 24. So the lots that we have right here, not parts 8, 5, 9. As these lots are currently registered on Plan 20, once council passes the bylaw, these lots will no longer be lots within registered Plan 20, concession 3 Belmont. The lots will effectively merge in accordance with the approved consent applications, thereby preventing any future conveyance of the single lots, and the lot configuration, the final lot configuration is achieved. So in conclusion, prior to the consent applications being formally filed, the applicants had been provided with the required planning approvals. I think this stretches from 10, 15 years, way before I even approached the township. In the form of an official plan amendment, they went through the rezoning applications, they went through the consent applications. And the requirement for the deeming bylaw is a condition actually of the consent applications, for which the application solicitor provided his undertaking that the bylaw would follow after the consent applications or the certificates have been issued. The consent applications with all the conditions had been approved by Township Council during local Township Council during the October 5th, 2020 meeting. And so moving forward, after the deeming bylaw is passed, consideration for removing the hold, because there is a holding provision on all these lands, will be followed in a future council meeting. All of which is respectfully submitted for council's assistance and direction. Who's my report to council?
All right, you're right. This has been around a long time and there's been a lot of work put into this thing to try and make it work for the people. So that being said, it does look like it looks a lot better than it did in the first place. And I'm just wondering, the only other question I have, so these are waterfronts. So as far as road access or things like that, that's up to them to deal with later, is that?
Through you, Mayor, I do believe that a new fire route was actually created in order to provide access to these lots. Again, it's been a multi-year process, and I would say that the applicant's agent would agree that, you know, the applicants have really gone through all of the stages to kind of get their approvals, and they've essentially been, from a financial kind of standpoint, through all the hoops. And so a new fire route has been provided. It does have access from the shoreline, and so the lots have access from Cordova and also the fire route.
Good. Okay, so we do have a recommendation here that we pass this draft bylaw under section 50 of the Planning Act. So any questions or Kathy?
So how many? There's buildings on there now? This is a family thing, I'm assuming.
Through the Mayor, yes, absolutely. There are, so I would say that 2 out of the 5 lots don't have any structures.
Okay.
The remaining 3, which is why I mentioned the holding provision, the hold is gonna remain, and then gradually we're gonna remove them.
Okay.
I do believe that that is subject to another future council meeting, but for now, it's just a lot configuration, just creating the new lot reservation. So there are still structures on the lots. I do believe that would require further analysis and the removal.
Okay, but this has all been legally looked after via the family.
Yep. Deputy Mayor Webb.
Just some background, that side of the river was owned by the one family. It's actually Walter Van Steenberg, who's a former reeve.
Okay.
And they used to rent the cottages.
Okay.
So all those, he's talking, they're small rentals that haven't been used in years. Families, he was American, so most of them are American. They've gone out, split up in the past probably 10 to 15 years. They've come back because probably he's died, the property's come into their hands, and they're trying to make something feasible out of it, out of the family members that are left, right?
So clean it up.
Exactly.
Okay, no, I'm fine with that. That's good. I just need the.
But it was eventually, even our cottage on the other side was all rentals.
Okay.
Walters. That's a
fair
little bit of
enough.
background for you.
Yeah. Okay, so there's a recommendation here. If there's no other questions, I'll for a motion to approve this recommendation. Moved by Councilor Clement and seconded by Deputy Mayor Webb. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay. And all right then, so that's the end of the planning report. Aria, you done only an hour. Okay, so we're gonna move into delegations. And we have one delegation today, and that's Pat Patterson. So Pat, welcome. I'm gonna ask you to keep it to 10 minutes if you can there. We've got a busy day ahead of us.
I've always been a little long.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you now.
Anyway, I just thank you, Mr. Mayor and councilors all. I'm here today representing the midweek jammers. And I would like to take the opportunity to thank the council for their support for our organization and for installing the much needed roof, wheelchair ramp for the town hall. Also, we are grateful to be allowed to use the town hall while this construction is going on. On Wednesday, weekly jammers sessions have grown from 20 now to probably 28, and then we have about 20 dancers. Or we have about 20 people that sit and sing, and we have about 5 or 6 dancers. Anyway, we have people who travel as far as Tweed, Trenton, Cavan, to participate, which contributes to our local economy. Number one, I'd like to talk about grant funding opportunities. I understand historically sufficient buildings and enable for granting fundings and improvements. We'd like council to direct staff to apply for grant funding, possibly to act as co-applicants for midweek jammers for granting funding and more needed improvements. Number two, what are needed improvements? There are 2 stairs that access the stage. The one closest to the accessible entry impede easy access to wheelchair. When we get our ramp all built, we come in the side door there. Well, the ramp, you've only got about maybe 3.5, if we even have 3 feet. Now, what we have been doing is we push the stairs sideways. And what we'd like to know is maybe can we improve the other one and just make that an accessible ramp and maybe do away with the other one. I think I talked to Travis about that. And well, that's something that needs to be looked at. Maybe we can't do that. The other thing we might be able to do is maybe put lockdown casters or something on it that we can just move it out of the road temporarily and then move it back or whatever's necessary. The original winners, they all have that beautiful stained glass, and when the jammers, I think they put about $600 in to get some of that done. And what we'd like to do, if we go ahead, well, back up a little bit. I talked to all our jammer committee, and we're quite willing to work with council and come up with some money for air conditioning. And in this process, we'd like to take and put insulated windows, and they'll slide in and be sealed. And Andy Sharp says he'll make the molding to go around the inside. That'll cut down a lot, and there'll be the same lattice work inside the glass that'll correspond with the ones that are in there now. The reason for that, I talked to the people at Peterborough Housing there about this grant, and they said, whatever you try to do, try to make it just the same as it was originally. And I think that will be. Anyway, we're prepared to put up to about $16,000. That'll look after the air conditioning, we hope, and the windows and things like that. You guys have been good to us, and it's growing all the time. I think it's a great thing. The next thing is the Heritage Grant. Building's 118 years old, and the community considered it historically sufficient, but there are advantages to have it declared a heritage building. Would council consider having a staff member research heritage status and present council with a report outlining their findings, pros, cons, and the analysis for the recommendations? The other thing is we have Graham Smith and 4 other ones that would like to, at intermission time, to be able to go up on the stage and they'd play while at the intermission time. And if we'd like council to just give us the okay to do that, I know it's probably, we could probably do it, but we'd just like to have somebody. One of the girls says, oh, I don't want to go against the council, and I don't want to go against the council either. So it's strictly up to you. Thanks for your time.
Wow, you done well there, Pat. So, I didn't get to ring the bell. Yeah, so you have a lot of things in your in like a lot of questions in here, and I think the best thing we could do here is refer this to staff to look at what we can do and what we can't do, because like you say, we've had a.
I have some 3 quotes on the windows, and if anybody's interested, we can look at that. And Andy's quote on doing the woodwork is about $1,000. So I think it's a pretty good deal.
So I think moving forward, like you said, we've been working well together. And I think we can continue that. The jammers have come forward before with money. I think last year we passed a resolution that we're going to restore the town hall, and now we got to get a plan in place. And if we put this into the plan, maybe we can get somewhere. So all these things that are in there, Pat, will I think if we pass your information on to staff, we can get a report to come back as far as we need to do an assessment of the building as far as not a complete new assessment, just go over some of the things that
If
you're
we
saying.
could, just one thing I might have missed. The quotes I have on the windows are only good for about 30 days.
Yeah.
And if we could get something back, even though we don't put the air conditioning in the furnace, we could go ahead and do that and get the windows put in anyway. It's well needed, and that will mean a lot, you know.
Okay, so that part of it, we can try and pull that out of there and see if there's anything we can do without, because the last thing we want to do, we don't want to waste your money either, like as far as like, and all of a sudden we find out that we couldn't do something and we've already done that part of it. So I think the motion would be that we receive today's delegation from Pat Patterson, and that the information be passed on to staff, and maybe see if we can, a couple of them things, if they could be expedited as far as if it's possible to do those things. That would be great, but the balance of it will probably end up coming to budget this year, as far as trying to see what we're going to be able to do there this year. So, okay, so I'll look for a motion to receive the delegation. Okay, moved by Deputy Mayor Webb and seconded by Councillor Clements.
Yep.
Any questions? Seeing none. Okay, carried.
Well done, Pat.
Thanks, Pat. Okay, so I'm just going to look for a motion to take a 10-minute recess here, and then we'll come back. Okay, moved by Deputy Mayor Webb and seconded by Councillor Flagler that we take a 10-minute recess when we return here at 10 after 2.
Okay.
Thanks. All right, so I'm gonna get a motion to resume the meeting. Moved by Councillor Clement, seconded by Councillor Flagler. All in favor? And that's carried. So we have 2 staff reports for information here. If there's no questions with them, I'll get a motion to receive those reports. Moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, seconded by Councillor Clement. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, and next we'll move into staff reports with follow-up action. And the first item here is building update, the building permit.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of council. So the next 3 reports in front of you are with respect to budget. So as we go through budget, we've reviewed some of the fees and feel it's time to update some of the fees. This report is for the building permit fees and the building bylaw. The purpose of it today is to seek direction from council with respect to the fees, and should council be supportive of amending the fees, we have to provide 20 days notice under the building code act. We've put together some numbers. Ryan was able to pull numbers over the past 5 years, and you'll see the total revenue versus the total expenditures. And we're only bringing in about 40% in revenue to cover the expenses. Outline as well the number of items that we've looked at and recommend we implement fees for or amend the fees for. So the first being approximate of 50% increase in fees. It's been quite a while since the bylaw has been amended. And then second, a fee for orders. Currently, we have a fee in there for stop work orders only. So this would cover any and all orders issued underneath the Building Code Act. The third would be to implement a renewal fee of $200, and that'd be a yearly fee on permits 2 years old. Now that one probably wouldn't come in effect until the 2024 budget. It wouldn't affect this budget a whole bunch, but 2024. Usually when it's slower, that's when we get those letters in, and we'd still have to work the finance a bit to determine how we're going to invoice those for when they don't get paid. And then number 4, an administrative fee of $100 for staff entering permits on behalf of the applicants. And that's now that we've got cloud permit. It's getting more common that once we issue a building permit, there's revisions made. And we currently don't have a fee to review those revisions. And it takes time to review them, put them in the cloud permit and update the drawings accordingly. So we'd be looking at a minimum of 100 for a minor change. And then a per square foot cost for a major change with a minimum fee of $250. Flat fee for public pools, so that's just public pools, not private pools. It's rare in this township. So we have a fee in there for that. And then also implement a $150 fee for inspections on permits that exceed 10 years old. We've got a number of old permits that we have to deal with. And the last one being to implement a fee of $150 for repeat inspections as deemed necessary by the chief building official. So for example, if it was a plumbing inspection where they had an air test or a water test, and they called you once, it failed, they called you back, it failed, third time, maybe that's when we started putting the fee on those ones. Or a framing inspection where we do a framing inspection, we provide a deficiency list. And then we would go back once more for free, and then maybe the third time we would have to charge for that repeat inspection. The report provided today for council's comments and direction to provide staff direction to provide notice in accordance with the Building Code Act and bring a draft bylaw back for the March 21st, 2023 public meeting.
Okay, so I was in talking to Travis about this, and I did have a question around you know, how we implement this with the way things are going nowadays and all the hardships that everybody's having. I'm not for carrying permits. It's not supposed to be carried by the taxpayer, but it has been a long time since we did this, and you know, we have to take some of the blame there. So I just wondered what council's thoughts were taking this over 2 years to get us up to where we should be. Solely up to council, but there is an option here that we could do like 50% this year and 50% next year, and we can notify the people that this is coming if you like. But it's just it's quite a hit. It's been since 2015. We have a couple other reports here, which I'm not saying to tweak them, but this one here is something that has been left, and it should have maybe been looked at a couple of years ago, so it's not such a big hit. But I don't know what council's thoughts are on that, but there's an option there. We don't have to do it all in one hit here, but what's your thoughts?
Well, what's the suggestion to do 50% this year and then the next?
And get it up to where it should be next year. It's just a thought.
With what, an education?
Well, it would be,
to
there would be an advertisement that, like right now, if you hit it 100%, it's just gonna hit everybody right off the get-go. Where at least then, you know, it can cause problems doing that. I can see both sides of it, because then you can get a rush of people getting their permits, so before it goes up, that's the other side of it, right? But that being said, there's probably some people that are in the queue right now that are just, I don't know if they would get hit with that right now. If they don't get in here before March 21st, it would probably be the new rates, right?
So through, yeah, any complete applications that are in now would be under the current fees, and I mean, it would be council's discretion whether they want to give a grace period or effective.
Okay.
As of that, yeah.
And that's another option too. So a grace period for an
So sorry, Travis, you said you have some very old ones? Like, how old are we talking? Like, and why are they so old and why are we still have them?
So that's for you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, so we have a number of old permits. Sonia's been able to provide a list from Keystone, Great Plains, and that goes back 10, 12, 15 years. But then there's older ones than that, and they usually don't come up until, say, a property sells and we get our zoning work order requests. We notify the lawyer that there's an outstanding permit, and then we're doing inspections on old permits, I mean, as far back as the 90s.
So there's no way of getting rid of these old permits?
Not without completing the final inspection.
We've sent letters out previously, a couple times now to the property owners of the older permits.
Mhm.
You do get a rash of, a sudden influx of all these inspections that want to be done. And then some people don't respond at all.
So are we charging interest or anything on these old permits, anything?
Through Mr. Mayor, no, there's no fee for any of them.
That's what this would cover, and it's something that during COVID and all the way the market was here in the last couple of years, there's probably gonna be a ton of them that maybe got changed hands and they don't even realize because a lot of people didn't put conditions on them. There could be some things that didn't get caught this time, but they may get caught 10 years down the road if that house turns over and it hasn't had its final inspection. And a lawyer picks up on it. We see it all the time. It's been happening for years now. So they pick away at some of these through the winter if they got a time to do some finals, but it's a process.
Interesting.
So, Terry, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I also spoke to Travis about the fees, and we actually talked about the incremental increases, and my recommendation or thoughts is we do it in one swoop, get it started. You can have an implementation date. You can put it forward to June or whatever, but to give people a chance, to give Travis a chance also to get caught up. We've put it off now from 2015 to 2023. And what I'm hearing is we want to do it again. So for me is let's clean it up now and move it forward. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Deputy Mayor Webb, go ahead.
Well, I haven't really heard from everybody else.
No,
but,
I'm just gonna go around the table here and then.
that's all right. I understand your concern in terms of the cost and the increase. I think Councillor Doherty makes a good point though, in that we've kicked this down the road for long enough. So I don't know, for me, I'd rather be, whether you want to do 50% this year, 50% next year, or to Councillor Doherty's point, let's just do it all this year with maybe a July 1st starting date. And that would give the building department some time or the public some time. So I'll throw those out there.
Yeah. Okay.
How would you notify them? Sorry, through you. How would you notify them that July 1st is this gonna happen and you're gonna owe a lot of money, or this is gonna happen? How do you educate them?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we would provide notice as required through the Building Code Act, and we're gonna put that on our website and the paper.
Okay, so we'll do the community press, papers, second, okay, fair enough.
Okay, so before I look for motion, Councillor Flagler, did you have any questions with regards to this? Any questions on it?
Every increase, like what is the charges right now for building permits? And how much are they going up? Are they going up $100, 200, 300?
It's just through you, Mr. Mayor. It really depends on,
Sorry.
that's okay, it depends mostly on, it goes by square footage, where some townships charge by cost of construction, we charge by square footage. For example, I think now we're 94 cents on a single family dwelling. And it's, if we go with the 50%, it'd be around $1.38 or something like that, so.
Okay.
So, okay, so, yeah, I like the implementation date, like whether it's July or whatever, so Councillor Doherty, go ahead.
Well, I also talked to Travis about where we are in the surrounding area with respect to fees. It's not like we're going to balloon them and be the head of the pack. We're still only going to go in the middle of the pack with the increases that are being recommended. So I think 8 years is a long time. So anyway, thanks.
Okay. Okay, Deputy Mayor, well, go ahead.
Yeah, so I guess hearing from everyone, I'll pick the motion to go with the full fee increase for July 1st of this year. Let's see how that goes.
Okay. Okay, so it's moved by Deputy Mayor Webb that we go with the full implementation and the date of July 1st, did you say?
Is that
reasonable?
Reasonable?
I'll second.
Need more time, less time?
No, that gives time to advertise.
Council's directed.
All right, so moved by Deputy Mayor Webb and seconded by Councillor Flagler. Any questions or comments? All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, so the next item here is tariffs and fees. Planning. So that's Travis, go ahead.
So again, as we review the budget, we're just looking at the planning fees here. I could go through the changes that we're proposing at this time. So first off, the one currently for it looks like we're going from 3,000 to 1,500 for a zone amendment. But the way it is now, that's $3,000 a deposit. So if we use a consultant, it's a pay as you play. If it costs less than 3,000, you get it back. If it costs more, you pay it. So now that we have REA in-house doing the majority of them, the way it's been set up is it was a 500 admin, and that was all it was costing to do them in-house. So it'd be a flat fee of 1,500 when we do them in-house, providing we don't use any consultants or solicitors or etc. But if we have to source one out to consultants, it'd be 1,500 plus whatever it costs. So it looks like less, but it's actually more. One of the few new things we're going to open to add is when somebody amends an application after it's been circulated, we have $1,000 fee for that. If somebody comes forward and has an application in front of council and requests for a deferral for whatever reason, we would have a $200 fee to recirculate that. If it's a request for deferral by council, there would be no fee. Looking to increase the minor variance applications from 725 to 1,000. And if we have to recirculate a minor variance application, a fee of 650. And we currently don't have any fee at all for the removal of holdings. Aria mentioned there's a couple of them coming forward here, so we currently have no fee at all for that. So we're looking at implementing a $500 fee for removal of hold. And for any encroachment agreements, 500 plus additional fees if exceeded. A site plan application, we currently have site plan in there at 2,000 plus a 500 admin, and that we put that in there for minor applications. And if we have a major application proposing 4,000 plus an admin, gives 750. And when we review these across the county, we're still middle of the pack for fees.
Good. Okay, so it looks like this one was 2014 when it was updated, is it?
I believe so.
Wow. Okay, yeah, these things should probably be coming up every 2 or 3 years at least, or at least once a term, they should be reviewed. So anyways.
Just thought that we want to keep an eye on it, budget every year and bring it to council as needed.
Okay, so there is a recommendation there. What's your thoughts?
Just a question, the amended application recirculation, is that like recovery costs $1,000 or seems high? That's
Yeah, so technically how it works, it's recirculating everything, and if it's been amended, then it's a lot of time for the planner to review as well, so there's a fair bit of work into just recirculating.
Thank you, Charlie.
There's a change.
I'll make a motion that we approve all the recommendations.
Okay, moved by Deputy Mayor Webb that we move the recommendations, seconded by Councillor Doherty. Any other questions? All in favor? And that's carried. Okay. Our next item here is regards to building and update these here. I'll take a look better on here. So we have Ryan, you've got some changes there, and Bianca, is there some things there too you've got in there, or is it? Okay.
So again, this is the fees and charges bylaw that's used by all departments. So when we went to review it, it's been passed out to all departments, so we can amend it one time when we come back here. So I can speak to the changes through our department, and then let Ryan and Bianca go from there. So ours is mostly with respect to the zoning work orders, the tax certificates, that sort of stuff. So it's currently sitting at $30 per property for those type of items for zoning work order tax certificates. So we're proposing to increase that $10 to $40 per property. And then any additional items, like say they ask you to do on a municipally maintained road, visit outstanding building permits, that sort of stuff. Currently we only have a $2 fee for that. We're proposing to change that to $5. And then also sometimes we get those requests at the last minute where they want things immediately. So we've added rush request in there for an additional 25% fee to get them a response within 48 hours. So that's my function of it through the planning and building.
Okay, Ryan, you've got some there?
Yep, through Mayor Martin to members of council. So just as a background, we haven't updated or increased fees for the Parks Recreation Facilities Department since 2018. I actually brought the last report in 2018 with the intention of providing an annual increase of 1.5% every year. However, through the COVID years, it was not something that we were really looking at doing and increasing fees. Our user groups are volunteer based and nonprofit organizations. And we didn't think it was ethical at the time to increase rates, and that proved to be true alongside of other municipalities within our county. Nobody was really raising their rates, so you're just starting to see rates start to increase within the Parks Recreation Facility setting. So I did do a quick summary of the rates for ice rentals within Peterborough County and provide that information within the report. So basically, I just made some notes there with the advertising program. So wall signs are currently listed at $100 per year. That has not been increased for as long as I know. So we're just proposing a $10 a year increase there. Same thing with the ice sports signs. That was a new initiative that we brought in 4 years ago. Just proposing basically $10 on each advertisement sign. Those invoices go out every second week of March for this year they would go out in March for 2023. And then the ice surface rentals, as you can see, we're low. But we'll gradually start kind of bringing that back up over the years, but we're also got to be cognizant of what our user group pressure points are and trying to support them at the same time. So we don't want to make significant increases, and what I propose here I think is reasonable and balanced, and it's something that's achievable for them, for our group. So basically what I've done there is just subtracted the rate so that when a user comes in and it's a cash account, instead of paying $97.50 and we're making change, basically it just went up, so it equals $100. And then same thing for non-prime time. So our current rate for prime time is $126.22. With the tax, they'll just be paying $130. So not a huge significant increase there. Park rentals. So that includes minor baseball, soccer, and adult recreation leagues. Back in 2018, we got away with, we used to pay per game. So I changed that to a flat fee because really, like, for example, for soccer, they're the only one that are using the field. So it really, from an administration perspective, it really wasn't good use of staff time to kind of manage and keep track of all the games that were happening when they were the only ones that were using it. So we went to a flat fee, but since the rates haven't increased, basically proposing $100 annual increase per category. So minor baseball would go, from 400 to 500. Minor soccer would go to 150 to 250, and then mixed league would go from $1,600 to $1,700 annually. So, and then I just increased the cost for to rent the baseball down for a tournament for 1 day. So I increased it $25. So, as council is aware, our costs have increased over time, and they're continuing to rise. So this just slightly offsets all that if they decide to. And then the only other change was the former town hall. Now that we've got it opened on a modified order, it's starting to become busy again. Our current rate is $40, and that's just basically for the day. And how that works is we give the keys out on the Friday, and they bring the keys back. And so with the proposed new rates in here, it allows us the ability to do more than one rental per day. So I put in a half day and a full day rental. And I think I've communicated this to council in the past, that the days of having, handing the keys out, to township facilities to people that are using them is they're coming to an end for liability purposes. So, if council decides to approve that, some of the increases from the rental revenue would help cover the costs of having a part-time facility tenant come and open a facility, and then it helps pay to clean facility and things like that. So especially with town hall, and we're trying to make an investment there, and with only charging $40, we could only possibly make $40 on a weekend. It's pretty low, so we need to step that up. So, and that's basically everything that covers the Parks Recreation Facility Department in terms of rates and fees.
Okay, thank you. So the next part of it is administration. Bianca, you get to
Yes,
do your part.
you, Mayor Martin. So upon review of the administrative charges, we felt that we were behind in the marriage license application fee as well as the marriage ceremony fee. So I reached out to all of the surrounding municipalities in Peterborough County, and you'll see that in the chart there where we are in comparison to those municipalities. So we're proposing a $25 increase to marriage license application and a $100 increase to marriage ceremonies.
Compared to others, it's not very much. You're gonna have them all running to Havelock to get married. Okay, so the presentation's there, and once again, it's one of those things that to try and keep up with the times. We need to do.
I have a question with Parks and Recreation. Brian, you've stated that you're increasing to use the soccer field by $100. Is that? Am I correct on that?
Through you, Mayor Martin, to Councillor Flagg, yes, that's correct. The current fee structure is $150 fee, annual paid fee to the township. I'm proposing that it be increased by $100, so totaling $250 for annual fee.
That's quite extensive for a club that is providing a service in town, is wrong, and as well as for baseball. I mean, you've got the kids that want to play. Like, I'm not understanding such the increase on that for cutting grass.
Okay, well,
That's my understanding of it, unless there is something else that's included in that, other than cutting grass.
So,
Wow.
okay,
You're gonna put the clubs right out of business.
okay, so
The question on the ice rental, Ryan, we're kind of low on the ice rental. I realize that we're trying to help local people out, but I'm just. Are these other arenas, are they full all the time? Because there seem to be, like, they're charging almost twice what we're charging. But ours isn't full, so I'm wondering what's happening there.
through you, Mayor Martin, to Deputy Mayor Webb, from what I understand, ice time availability in other rinks is hard to find. So that's where, like, we've been fortunate that, we can kind of help alleviate some of those pressures, and that's keeping us our revenue.
Are we seeing more groups come from other areas then? Like,
Yeah, absolutely. So
that is something we should continue with then, maybe advertising in other communities that you have ice that's half the price of those communities.
Yeah, through you, Mayor Martin. Absolutely. This year we've had a huge improvement with our social media presence, and it's really been an improvement from the last couple of years. And now that other clubs are getting used to having our available ice time, they're all lining up for that. So it is great. But in addition to that, I'm planning on bringing an additional report to council to speak to the ice revenues for last season versus this is a comparison. So as information.
okay, Kathy. go ahead.
Okay, question for you. So billboard advertising, you only want to increase it by $10? Okay. How much, can we increase that to 125? And that would, and maybe we could offset the kids, baseball, the soccer, and that kind of stuff. And maybe only give them like a $50 increase. Can we make more off the billboard advertising? Do we offset that?
Through you, Mayor Martin, to Councilor Clement, I don't think it's really something that we should be offsetting through, like, if we gain one more sign in the arena, then that's an additional $110. So I don't see why we'd adjust everyone else's, like, we're looking at, I'm projecting about $14,000 in revenue advertising at the arena, so you know, you're talking about, yeah, increasing possibly another $1,000 by doing that. But I think too, like, we have a lot of participation in the advertising program because our rates are lower. And
Okay.
I feel that it's a great way for local business to gain exposure in the community, as you know, and support the community center. So I think by, like, you know, asking them to kind of compensate for those kind of things, like where you know, when we apply a rate to like say the baseball or the soccer fee, those fees are being absorbed by only the people that are using them, right? Using those facilities. So it doesn't, so say for example, I'll use the soccer field. I understand we're just cutting the grass, but we do other maintenance. We do inspections. The $250 doesn't cover the cost to do that. So the taxpayer picks up the remainder of the fee, right? So I'm just, you know, for $250, you know, to cut the grass, you know, once a week and look after things like I think that's pretty minimal compared to other municipalities. If council wishes, I could bring that information back and to review in comparison that ways.
Yeah, like that's not even one cut. That increase wouldn't even be one cut. So if you cut it 12 times a year or whatever, 20 times a year, I'm not sure where you're at there, but yeah, like I think if you take it over the whole thing, the big picture here, I think, you know, the advertising, I advertised there up till this year, and that was the way I looked at it was it was more of a donation because it's not really seen that much in
So
the.
the people
I did it
using
because
it.
my kids were in skating and
Yeah.
whatever, so but
Fair enough.
you know, it's not a prime location, but it's nice that they're helping, and 14,000 is pretty good, so so it's but anyway, so we went through all of these. Jerry, did you have any comments or questions? No? Okay, so the recommendation here is bring this back the bylaw, or just say for the revisions and that the bylaw, being a bylaw, they have these fees for the services. Would that for today, would that go in place today then? Like this another one then, or these rates would start as of today?
So through you, Mayor, I had indicated in the report that I would lock in the ice fees for the remainder of the season. So we're done March 26th. So those fees we would be charging the existing, but then come September, that's when we would apply whatever council approves here. Okay.
Well, on that note, if we're doing it with the other fees, why don't we set a date for this? So whether it be May 1st or something, obviously sooner. But so you can get it out to people that, like organizations that are gonna take a hit.
Yeah. So, yeah, so the date could be
May
like the 20th.
What's today? We're in February, right? You have it done by April 1st, or is that too soon? May 1st either?
Well, to go with the ice fees, it would be April 1st that they would be implemented, so it will affect our summer sports if we start it that early, so but that's, yeah, that's in between seasons.
What do you
right?
mean? What do you mean? Ice?
Oh, like
There's no ice in April.
No, but all the other fees that are there for the soccer field and the ball diamonds and all that stuff, so that your April 1st would work. I mean, that would finish the season off in the rink. And that
we have
gives
enough
people
time to let people know about it, because like I said, we're all.
Well, that's up to you. Yeah.
And that's what I'm asking the rest of council is whether they're like that 1 month or 2 months. Right?
Yeah. Yeah,
I don't
so
think we're gonna lose that much really in a month,
no,
but
so April 1st is 2 months away. Is that enough time?
it's a month away.
Month? Okay,
This is a yearly fee, right? It's a one-time
One-time annual.
yearly fee.
yeah.
And when do most of these organizations start?
Well, they're already advertising baseball, so that's gonna be a problem, I think, maybe with some of them, because they've already put their fees out. That's that could be a problem.
We can address that.
Yeah.
Like, case by case,
Yeah.
right? But let's just pick a date so that that has enough
Okay,
time to
come
get
up
on the
with a date.
website and let people know whether it's
Yeah.
flyers or whatever. So we
So-
don't, get the phone calls that we usually get because we haven't told anybody.
So July 1st,
No, I didn't say July 1st. I said
No.
April 1st or May 1st.
I said April 1st, you said that wasn't enough time, so
I looked at other people to see if
Okay.
that was enough time.
so come up with a date. and put it in the motion, okay?
Yeah, a date, I guess, to fair warn. I'm just kind of curious. I know soccer is being charged the extra $100, whereas baseball is charged per game that they play down there. Is that correct,
For
right?
tournament.
Or tournament? Right. I don't know. It's just not just.
No, through you, Mayor Martin, Councillor Flager. No, the fees are proposed in the report.
Right,
It's an annual increase of $100 per group. So
per year. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
minor baseball is going from 400 to 500. So
Okay.
they're seeing the same increases that.
Yeah,
you are.
okay, all right.
And same with the adult mixed league. So basically, the township is gonna receive an extra $300 in revenue for sports fields for this season. Okay?
Okay, so
May first.
May 1st.
May first.
Okay, so the motion would be that we implement these fees. And it would take place starting May 1st, and we would start advertising now to let people know there has been some changes. So that's the motion, moved by Councillor Clements, seconded by Deputy Mayor Webb. Any other comments? All in favor? And that's carried. All right then. Yeah,
May I ask, so we didn't put a date with planning, was it gonna be effective immediately, or would you like a date with that one as well?
yeah, we didn't put one with it. I guess it's immediate, like, I was thinking it would be the same as the building, one, but never really thought of that part. So the motion, we've already carried that motion, and I don't know whether it'll. What's your thoughts, Arya, like as far as the planning?
Through to you, Mayor Martin, it would be up to council's recommendation if we wanted to essentially push the building stuff to almost July 1st, then we can maintain consistency by July 1st.
Okay, so it's up to the mover and the seconder about amending that planning motion there.
Okay, July 1st. So it just makes sense. The building and the planning all go together, right?
Okay,
For July 1st.
so if it's okay with the mover and the seconder, that we amend the previous
That makes
planning.
sense.
Okay, to July 1st. Okay. All right, then, all in favor of that motion? That's great. All right. So the next item here is the temporary use agreement on County Road 48, Sonia.
New Mayor Martin and members of council. My report is for the temporary use agreement in regards to Pamela and John Laverton's property at 2931 County Road 48. Purpose of the report is to present for council's consideration a request for a temporary use agreement pertaining to the construction of a new dwelling. And my recommendation is that the mayor and clerk be authorized to enter into the agreement and pass the bylaw at today's meeting. The background is that the township had received a request from the owner of the property located at 2931 County Road 48, requesting permission to reside in their existing dwelling while rebuilding their single-family dwelling on the same property. The request was brought forward to council and passed at the meeting of December 6, 2022. The dwelling will be removed and cease to be used for living accommodations at the conclusion of the construction period. The agreement has been revised to an 18-month term, given the time of year and the construction start date, which would take them to June 21st, 2024. And the applicants have paid their deposit of $1,200. They've signed the agreement. And we will then register it on title and remove the agreement from title upon completion of the construction and demolition of the 16th dwelling. That's completion.
Okay, all right, so we do these from time to time for people. It's nice that they're reaching out and not just doing it, so so anyways, it's I'll look for a motion to move this
That's pretty straightforward, isn't it?
Yeah. So, okay, moved by Councillor Clement. Do I have a seconder? Deputy Mayor Webb, all in favor? And that's carried. All right then, so next we move into correspondence. And our first, we only have one item here and an item, and that's with regards to Cox Lake Regatta. And use of the beach. This is something that comes every year, so pretty straightforward. Look for a motion that we approve this. Okay, moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, seconded by Councillor Doherty.
No, question, please.
Okay,
I think there's a typo. I think it's the 75th anniversary, not that that makes any particular difference, but I am seconding it. Well,
okay, that could be, I think you're right, so, okay.
Thank you.
Seconded by Councillor Doherty. Any questions? All in favor? And that's carried. All right then. So next we'll move into committee liaison reports, and the first item there will be county council update. And I seen, did you bring anything today, or you're writing furiously that day? So okay. Okay, so county council update from last week.
Yeah, thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Quickly, presentation from Dave Smith on the proposed new detox rehab facility. Maybe possibly you've seen it in the paper. They got 1.138 million from the province. So they came to county to ask for, I think it was 100K, and they also got, I think, 100K from city to implement this. I can't really give you details on where it's going to be. It's a recovery, kind of a recovery station thing, I think. But not many details were given to the mayor and I in terms of location or where it will be set up. Secondly, we had a quick presentation on tiny homes. It's kind of quite interesting. It's something that's popped up in our area quite a bit. People are talking about it, at least. Presentation they give, I believe it was from Nova Scotia, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Down there, I believe they're doing, it's three tiny homes per serviced lot. So I guess 3 of them would share the water, and whether it be the septic or the sewage on the lot. So that's I don't know, there was more on that, but I don't want to get into it a whole lot. Kind of quite interesting, but personally I felt the homes were quite small for people to live in. I don't know, maybe seem okay for a weekend or something, but I don't know if I'd want to live an extended period of time in a house that size, but it is what it is. And then lastly, quickly, discussion on the asset management plan. I think we discussed it last time here, Mr. Mayor, that there will be a 2.5% levy for infrastructure. It will stay. And there was kind of a budget update, I guess, or whatever, because we're still not finished budget, but the new levy is set at 5% and the actual tax rate, which is what you will pay. So from now on, I think Councillor Taylor made that motion in that we will no longer use the word levy, and possibly we could do that here at ours, and we use the tax rate. So the proposed tax rate now, it's still not finished, it would be 3.91 comes from the county. So I think we're gonna have more discussions with that next week. So
yeah,
so it's getting to where it can be acceptable. So, but there's still work to do. That's about it. Any questions or comments? See if I can answer them.
okay.
I
Yes, Councillor.
nothing on the, sorry.
Oh, Councillor Doherty, go ahead.
A question on the budget, just curious to whether County Road 48 is on for road repairs, the road to Cadova. Is it on the budget to be anything done with it in 2023?
I'm not sure if it's on there. I know 46 has some on it, but I'm not sure if 48. They did some last year up on the north end. We'd have to go back and look at that.
What, 48 had work done last year?
Yep, on the north end.
Is that 100 feet they did there? Is that considered work, I guess?
No, they have a 10-year roads needs study, and I'm not sure where 48 is. It's coming due, but I'm not sure if it's this year or not.
Maybe you can make inquiries and see when it's coming up. Thank you.
48 is George Street, and that's in the budget, so that part is, you're muted.
I'm talking about the balance of it going to Cordova, not the part in town, because I think we covered that that's still on the, like George Street is still on the 23 budget. I believe you sent that last meeting, but.
Yeah. So we'll check into it.
It's on the capital projects thing. So
Yeah. Yeah, we'll check into that, Councillor Doherty, and see if I don't remember seeing it this year. It's been, there's so many other ones that have to be done. That's why we have that 2.5% increase in there. And if we didn't do that, even there, we're slipping still, on road work. I forget how many kilometers of roads the county has, but, there's always talk about removing some of that or knocking it back to 2%. And they did a part of the model that they showed us, the 2.5%. We're almost breaking or holding our own. It's still flipping a little bit, but it really should be at 3.5% if we wanted to really get things up to date. So, but anyways, we'll check into that and see where 48 is on there. I do remember seeing 46. They're supposed to every year do 5 kilometers. Go ahead.
So they didn't have a roads needs study before. This is the revelation that happened this year that they're behind, or this is an ongoing problem?
Yeah, it's been, everybody has a road needs study. We have one here too, and
yeah, I'm talking about the county.
Yeah, it's, everybody has one, and they have one too, and I can show you that sometime if you like. It's you know, it's up to you.
It just seems to be coming to as a surprise that we have this backlog. So it has been coming like all along, and we're just now catching up then, or want to address it. Is that the idea?
We've had that 2.5% in for 3 years now.
Yeah.
And there's always talk about more or less, but no, it's been known for quite a few years since we did the last road needs study that we're not holding our own. So okay. All right. So is there any other questions?
I have 2 minutes. So I have a question for you, Deputy Mayor. The little homes, have we had, or tiny homes, have we had much in the way of inquiries here for something like that?
That would be a question for Travis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know. I didn't.
Yeah, it's
because a lot of that thing is, it's also donated land, is it not?
that's what the next piece would be. They're just showing what they have and then the
Yeah,
opportunities that are out there.
Okay.
Whether anything ever happens with them. It's been a big thing in Peterborough. Like there's some that are even tinier than that. They're like sheds.
Yeah.
So
it might be something that works maybe around here or around the lakes, but
Well, it's for people off the street, right?
some of them are, that's what they're entertaining, but these ones were pretty nice, like as far as,
Oh, okay, these were like tiny homes for,
Yeah.
they live on a big house.
yeah. And I
Okay.
think it's, you know, like it's something that, like, so we have a minimum square foot here of 1,000 square feet. That's probably, it's probably time to review that in some areas, like I know North Kawartha, they're 500 square feet or something like that. You know, for rural areas, it's there's a lot that are entertaining that because of the cost to build right now.
Okay.
So
but even
those things there were 160,000 a unit.
270 square feet and 160 grand for it.
That's not even a bachelorette apartment.
Wait till you see it. Hey, you
Okay.
could have built it for $160.
Wow, okay.
So anyways, okay, so that was the report from the county, and our budget is ongoing. It's getting close, but we're not there yet. I think we have one on March 1st. I think there's some follow-up. So anyways, okay, so with that, I'll get a motion to receive that part of it, the county update, and that's moved by Kathy and seconded by Beth. All in favor? Carried. Okay, so the next one is Councillor Clemens. You had library board meeting on February 2nd, and then there were some minutes from January 30th. So
Three units first. So anyways, it was a good meeting, and Councillor Doherty's gonna start, I believe, going with me to some of the meetings. So what came out of it at the end, their budget's minimal increases, but we'll have minutes on that. But what did come out, they're just looking for some support and information at this point. They would like to have on the north side of the lawn by the driveway. They said nothing grows there except crabgrass. What they'd really like is a gazebo and with some seats and accessible for wheelchairs so that people can use Wi-Fi when the library is closed It would also enhance the look of the street because we'd have a nice gazebo, we'd have some flowers. And they'd also like to have one of those little stands where, like they have in Peterborough, take a book, leave a book. So they'd like to see if we can get some support from that, possibly a grant. And it would take up, there'd be no more grass there that doesn't grow. So we're just looking for some support and possibly maybe looking into a grant.
That's good. And that would be something you'd have to work with the building department and planning to see if there was even a spot there to put it because of the.
Yeah, and they
It's a
realize
tight area, so.
it is a tight area, but it would
What
improve.
about the back?
Well, I said,
Now that this, like now that the Huckabee doesn't use it, right? Are they?
well, I think there's a gate across there, because I was thinking, like, that's unused revenue to me. Why aren't we renting it out for like picnics or? Like, I don't know where the liability comes into that. But they thought if you come up to the library and you see it there, you can sit there. It's Wi-Fi. That's, a lot of people go into the library right now just to use the Wi-Fi because they don't have.
What
a
I'm
phone.
saying though is in the back, right? They have all the, the sandboxes like they used to have for,
Yeah,
but it's all paved mostly, isn't it?
yeah, it's mostly
What if
paved.
they
We'd have to fix
put a
that
green
up.
area in there? Like, to me, someone probably like to sit back there rather than sit out next to the sidewalk, right next to the funeral.
Well, we're trying,
I would.
well, I don't know, we're trying to clean up the streets.
What dead bodies go in
Yeah.
there? Well, it is
I
what it
lived
is.
beside the cemetery for 25 years.
Okay,
They don't move those.
so,
Well, we want to improve the look of the
Yeah,
street, too, right? I mean,
so I would encourage you to, talk with the building department and if they get something together, like official, they can speak with the building and planning department, see if there's anything that's possible. And as far as grants, whatever,
Okay.
everything's around grants, but,
yes, we're just looking for support.
so the minutes from the January 30th meeting, I'll look for a motion that we receive those. That moved by you, Beth?
Sure.
Okay, and that's seconded by Deputy Mayor Webb. All in favor? And that's carried. The next, Deputy Mayor Webb, you have economic development meeting on February 13th and minutes from November 21st. That's a long time ago.
I don't know.
Can you remember? So,
No.
so if there's no questions for Deputy Mayor Webb, we can receive the minutes.
Yeah, just let me see here. I don't know if there's anything I want to comment on. Definitely not on November. I'm trying to think what we talked about last time. Was there something? I thought there was something there that council.
I think Jerry had a question. Go ahead, Councillor Doherty.
Well, Deputy Mayor is thinking about the question. The CIP, we have to do an official plan amendment to get it available to HBM across the board. Am I reading that correctly or?
Yeah. Yeah,
And-
there's a process to it to do any changes in it.
Wow. Okay, thanks.
Okay. All right then.
Yeah, I can't even read. Just one thing we did, I think, talk about last, was only to comment on the.
You can, yeah, that'll probably come at the next,
Oh,
or no, you,
other business?
Yeah.
Go ahead, I'll wait till.
yeah, like that'll come at the next meeting anyway, like you should have it on there in other business next time. You can.
Oh, okay, no problem.
Okay.
Yeah, no problem.
All right then. So, Jerry, go ahead.
No, you're going to do other business, I guess, because it's under economic impact. Okay, go ahead. No, sorry, thanks.
Okay.
I guess so, but yeah, I don't, once I said, if anybody had any comments or questions,
Yeah, like if you want to get it out now, like if you can touch on it, but you'll have more minutes or some.
Oh,
better-
okay.
More prepared
You mean the
statement.
Legion?
Yeah. the
Okay,
Legion.
sorry, yeah. So last time we talked about, did we get the letter from the Legion, saying they're looking to do some improvements, Cherry, Economic Development Officer, and I went down and met with them Thursday or Friday. What they're looking to do is paint the two long sides of the building, so not the complete building, because the front has siding on it. So it'd be the two long sides of the building. I think there's just a little, the back doesn't really need to be painted, but there is a tiny kind of swath at the top and the back, so mainly the two sides.
Mhm.
She's working with the Legion. We're looking at getting a quote because it's probably gonna have to be power washed first and then painted, and then they're working with Newton's and Home Hardware here to see if they can source, whether it be donated or cheap materials for the project. And hopefully, as I said, like Mayor said, come our next meeting, I'll have that information for council in terms of possibly what the cost would be to do work over there. Another thing that was brought up by them in the meeting is they have actually, I think they've already put down a $10,000 down payment on an electronic sign that would replace the sign that's out there right now, which is just a basic, Legion sign there. So yeah, in the course of the discussions, it came out because they said they wanted a new sign, and we said, do you have any money to put down on it? If we went that way, and they said that they'd already made the $10,000 down payment on it.
Wow.
So they've already got some investment there. I think maybe in the future we could see them come back to council to look for some more help. But as of right now, like I said, it would be they're looking at upgrading, paint the two sides, a little bit of the back, and some minor soffit fascia eaves trough fixes.
Is that building not stucco?
Yeah, that's why they would have to pressure wash.
Yeah, that's how.
Pressure wash, do you not think some of that stucco's gonna come off? Like, should we not maybe
Well,
looking at siding instead of painting?
Somebody will know, they'll get somebody to.
Yeah, and when you get into that, then you're gonna look at a major expense just for the size of it, right? So I
Yeah,
think.
but
as I
just,
said,
I'm thinking long term, like if you start. I mean, my house was stucco, I know it came off, mine was power washing, that's why it now has siding. So that's what I'm wondering, long term, if we should be looking at an alternative in case.
Well,
It'll be up to them.
Well,
We're not-
and in the discussions, that was kind of brought up I asked them the last time it was painted. So,
Yeah.
you don't want to do it. I don't want to paint it if I got to paint it every 5 years.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
last time it was painted, I believe was the early.
Okay,
So I mean, if we do it right, we're gonna get 30 to 40 years out of it. We'll all be gone. It'll be somebody else's. So,
Councillor Doherty had a question?
Yeah, I think we can only suggest and recommend. I don't believe it's our building. So
So that's the
they may not have the funds to fill in the rest of it. That's all. So anyway, thank you.
Okay, so that's the report, and there'll be more of an updated one.
yeah, with more details,
Yeah.
as I said, once we get some numbers around some of this work, so.
Okay, so we have minutes there from the November 21st meeting. Motion to move those minutes, Councillor Clement and Councillor Doherty. All in favor? And that's. Carried. All right then, so other business. Get up here. I got a motion to receive those. Did I go? No, that was okay. There was.
You got one
Yeah.
corrected.
Okay. All right then, so we're gonna move into other business here, and I think Kathy, you covered some of it there, or is that a different thing? Beautification grant for the library?
that's it.
Okay, all right then. So that's all there was and listed for other business.
Question.
Yeah,
About halfway down, it says Jim Martin reinforced the importance of providing council a financial statement. Is this in the form of a bylaw or should it be?
where's that? Where was that, Terry?
It says Jim Martin reinforces the importance of providing council with financial statements and a 2023 event budget. All service clubs groups requesting financial support from council will be held to this standard. Is that in a bylaw or should it be in one?
Where I don't see it on.
Okay. it
Other
was in there.
business, page 344. It is on mine. Maybe I'm reading North Kawarth's agenda.
I remember seeing it, and I think we decided that if we had any major festivals, we have to have an audit or a financial report afterwards. 344.
Oh, so that was in economic development then?
Economic impact of HB and Proud.
Okay. Okay, that's from the minutes of 2020. Okay, that's old minutes. I'm not sure.
Okay, it refers to 23, that's all. Anyway, no, that's good, thank you.
Okay,
It was 2020, it should have been 2020.
so, yeah,
Or 2023, sorry. This festival right now, when we asked for the financial
Financial
report
thing,
afterwards, that's what's referred to.
okay. All right, so that'll be covered, Jerry. Yes, it is. It'll be covered on the for the budget in the 2023. That's what the motion that Councillor Clement put in there a while ago. So it's same thing. Okay, you're muted.
The answer to the question is it in a by, do we want it in a bylaw or do we not? That's what was part of my question, but we don't have to deal with it now. If you don't want, that's fine.
Yeah, it was, okay, so it was in the motion that Kathy passed and that'll be coming forward. We had stayed 60 days.
Yeah, but he's asking, I think, for all festivals going forward,
Oh.
we've got to make it a bylaw.
Okay,
Is that what I'm thinking, Jerry? Is that what you're looking for?
Well, yeah, because that's what actually it alludes to in there. Regardless of what year it is, it says groups requesting financial support from council will be held accountable to this standard. Well, what is the standard and how are we implementing it? And it should be in a but that was a question.
yeah,
Rather generic, I guess.
yeah, and there should be something coming out of this. Thank you, Jerry. Yes, that's
a good point, Jerry. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we have to look going forward. We have to look at that.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's obviously the biggest one someone's asked for. But you know, if someone comes to us for any amount of money that's, you know, of a quantity, we should be looking at
Well, I'm not on that committee anymore, Jerry, but I think you know, if you want, that could be referred to.
No, it's not about being on a committee. It's
No,
about any way
but-
that applies for money. Are we
Yeah.
going to have a standard for them? And you said we want a standard. Is it going to be in the terms of a bylaw, or is it just going to be a standard and we'll do them on a one-off basis? That's my question.
It would be a policy bylaw, yeah.
Everything isn't gonna be a bylaw if you want to.
Yeah.
Abide by it.
Yeah, it will be in a bylaw to move it forward. It has to be, that's what the suggestion was, and I didn't pull it out ahead of time here, Jerry, so maybe it should, I gotta read it some more here and bring it back. It's a good point, didn't catch it. So it can come back at the next meeting for new business. I'll look into it here and we'll have a report for the next meeting. Okay, Jerry?
Okay.
All right then. Okay, so new business. Bob, go ahead.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin, just to expand on Councillor Doherty's question. In the last term of council, staff did bring forward a community grants policy.
Mm-hmm.
And in that policy, it clearly stated that any monies that are distributed to any group, that group would have to provide a financial accounting. So if this council chooses to adopt that through the budget process, we could certainly bring a bylaw forward to ensure that everyone provides a financial accounting, any group that receives money from council.
Thanks, Bob.
The bylaw doesn't continue. It has to be due on every annual through you, Mr. Chair, to Bob.
Nope, that bylaw is in place from the last council.
So it's a continuation?
Yeah. All bylaws continue until they're rescinded.
Then I'm sorry. For the slow ones, you'll have to explain that again, Bob. I apologize.
Yeah, through you, Mayor Martin, to Councillor Doherty. That policy was not adopted by the last council.
Okay.
So when it comes to this council, it will be this council's option to adopt the policy or not. Once the policy is adopted and or a bylaw is adopted, it stays in force until it's rescinded.
So let's clean this up at the next meeting then, Bob. I'm gonna bring something in new business and we'll get this sorted out. So the last council, yeah, there was a thought or a motion to look at it. So if we didn't adopt it, that's something that we need to do. And it's something that we've told all the user groups or all the people that we're giving money to, that we're not giving money anymore unless they show us financials. So that's what it comes down to. And any grants going forward, that's how we're dealing with them. So I'll bring something in new business the next time, Jerry, and we'll deal with it there and we'll have a full report. I didn't catch that in the minutes there, sorry. So, okay. The next we have here other business, there is no other business. Kathy dealt with that in liaison reports. So, bylaws, we have some bylaws here to move, and that's, so we've done the first two. So the third bylaw here is a bylaw to deem lots with regards to the registered plan 20 that we approved that, move that bylaw. Number 3. So it's what's the bylaw number here then? Bylaw number 20 or registered plan 20. Somebody want to? Okay, moved by Deputy Mayor Webb that we move the deeming bylaw.
Oh, the demon, okay, got it.
Okay. All right, so moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, seconder. Councillor Clement, all in favor? And that's carried. Okay, and the next bylaw is 2023-04, amending bylaw with regards to tariffs and fees. With the changes that were on there, do they have to be in this bylaw, Bob, or can they, with the amendments? For dates?
Sorry, through you, Mayor Martin. Yes, we can bring this bylaw back and include the amendments. And we'll
Okay.
include the dates as well.
All right, then, so the amended planning fees bylaw 2023-04, a mover. Okay, Councillor Clement. Deputy Mayor Webb, all in favor? That's carried. And our next is fees and charges. 2023-11. Okay. I don't know who that is. Okay, so moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, seconder. Councillor Clement, all in favor, and that's carried. And the temporary use bylaw, 2023-010, mover. Deputy Mayor Webb, seconder, Councillor Doherty, all in favor, and that's carried. All right, so that's the end of the bylaws. Other than the confirming bylaw, we don't have any closed session, so I'm mover for the confirming bylaw. Councillor Clement and Councillor Flagler, all in favor, and that's carried. And motion to adjourn, Deputy Mayor Webb and Councillor Clement, all in favor, and that's carried.